Hey, what's up everybody? Let's Go Brendan here, and before we get into this video, I just want to announce that I am now part of the Hodge Twins official affiliate program. You can get official Hodge Twins merch such as supplements, apparel, faith-based apparel, all through my link below. It's going to be in the description. So check out the link down below in the video description and enjoy the video. Previously on Right Side of Cali. In 2020, Los Angeles became the epicenter of rebellion against lockdowns and mandates. From the chaos of shutdowns and riots rose a new movement, the Beverly Hills Freedom Rallies, where thousands gathered week after week to stand for liberty, faith, and the American spirit. But when the election came and crowds began to fade, the true believers kept the fire burning, marching maskless through stores, confronting officials like Barbara Ferrer and Eric Garcetti at their own homes, and backing businesses like Tinhorn Flats and Pineapple Hill Saloon who dared to defy the mandates. What began as a spark was becoming a storm. We all know by now what happened on January 6th.
We all went there, rallied behind a mission to just stand up against this wrongdoing, just as we had been doing. Mind you, none of us were ever the ones to start riots and violent actions, ever.
I had the tickets, I was like, the way I saw it was like, there's millions of people there at the Capitol. What's one more dude there gonna make? How is it gonna make a difference? I'd rather be at in LA, organizing more, protests or something. I don't know, but so I didn't go.
I could tell you personally, I had no idea what the news and the media and the other politicians were going to turn J6 into. It was a shock to me when I heard what they framed it as and the way they narrated it, when I'm like, that's not what happened. Yes, there was a group over here, and they were not part of us. Okay. Saw it with my own eyes, not part of us. But you're talking 1 million plus people in one space. Tell me where else that can happen. And the majority of what happens is positive. It was patriotic. It was justified. sang our patriotic songs together. We did the Pledge of Allegiance together. Then there was just, like I said, this one group of people over here doing dumb stuff. And
God, I wasn't there. I could have easily been there, but I wasn't. But as far as the FBI setting it up, agitating, and they busted the FBI. They issued, uniform issued boots and guns, agitating the crowd. I mean, come on, it's pretty obvious. I guess some might have been a little irate, but the vast majority of people, because I know a lot of people who went, they said our people, it was a family event. They let them into the Capitol. Security, come on in. It's like now it's a tour. You're a tour guide almost. To say that was a riot, you're a conniving asshole because, I'm talking about the news media networks and whoever was spinning that story, because that's just so dark and deceptive. It's not funny because you're painting this picture to be something that it really wasn't. So yeah, my opinion on it is, I mean, I was really dark on freaking Biden and these clowns punishing, the Democrats punishing these J6s when all they did was show up. They did nothing.
But anyways, a lot of people were wrongfully set up for what happened. People who came back, they told us the actual stories. Yeah, they were let in the Capitol.
Given the amount of people there, I mean, it wasn't a freaking BLM Antifa. Let's light the place on fire, burns, destroy statues and ask questions later. It was nothing like that. Nothing. It was a family event. It was grandparents, grandkids, and just people who wanted freedom, people who wanted answers. So I thought, that was rough. That was rough. I knew, as you did, a bunch of people who went, who got, jail time for doing nothing, absolutely nothing.
After that fiasco, 3 of our patriots would be arrested in one weekend. Over the next few years, that number would double. One of those patriots was Ed Badalion.
Another amendment that was violated, in my case, was the Sixth Amendment. So the Sixth Amendment states that any witness that might be on your side, that might be to help you, a witness, the government must bring that witness in your case to help you. And in my case, when I was being helped out of the window, because I ended up jumping into the window because of the gas bombs. So if you see the videos, you'll see the gas bombs going off, and me and like a group of other people will enter, and then you can see us in the government's own video coughing because of the gas bombs. So the officer who comes up to the window, he says to me, "Let's go. We got to get out of here." And I immediately left. Like that shouldn't be trespassing either, because the first time that an officer spoke to me, I left immediately. But they did not bring that police officer into the court. They brought 2 officers that never even saw me, like completely random officers to testify about the situation, but not that had ever seen me or any of my actions.
He didn't do anything other than enter a building. And he's, his life is in shambles, and we're, having a lien put against the house. His mom is a wreck. I get hives on the daily. We're being tried for some serious things, and it's really unfair because honestly, we have a lot going for us, fighting for our country and our freedoms. He tore someone off the building. He protected the Capitol. He turned furniture over inside the Capitol that was flipped over, and it's really just not right what they're doing to our people, and we're gonna just keep fighting.
Ed and the other J6ers would continue to fight their cases. In the meantime, the movement marched on.
And so as we talk about California and as we lean in to what's happening in California, we have to start to think about those souls that are 6 feet under. Because they gave everything for us, and they were a stand for us, and Americans, Californians. Now it's time for us to lean in and be a stand for them.
start telling the truth instead of telling all these bullshit lies? Or are we just going to indoctrinate everyone and make everybody hate each other? Make your decision. Save the kids.
As 2020 became 2021, the city health inspector would drop by regularly to shut down Tinhorn Flats, repeatedly issuing fines that the LePageans stood their ground on and refused to pay. We had no idea how ugly it would get.
Early Thursday morning, crews boarded up the Tinhorn Flats restaurant in Burbank after city officials red-tagged the business for several fire and safety violations. But the resident taking the cell phone video isn't convinced that method will work.
You better weld the manhole covers too, because he'll figure out a way to get in there.
He was right. Co-owner Lucas Lepagian did find a way to get into the restaurant to open it for business again.
As soon as I saw that, I came in and I sawed it right off.
It's the latest development in the months-long battle between the restaurant owners and the city of Burbank, at odds over COVID-19 protocols. City officials say the restaurant has repeatedly defied orders, including its refusal to stop offering outdoor dining when all in-person dining was banned in LA County.
I was not able to make a living for myself or for my family, and I had no choice but to open up.
Since the first violation, the restaurant now faces a temporary restraining order. City officials also tried padlocks, cutting the electricity, and fines to get the business to shut down.
Something that a lot of conservatives and patriots have to really understand is that our enemy is pretty fucking stupid, thank God. They really are. They're not that smart. What they have is they have the power of media. They have the power of sheep. But in general, if you look at the whole COVID fiasco, wasn't really that well planned out. If you're trying to take over the world, okay, I wouldn't have done it this way.
A Burbank restaurant at the center of a fight with the city over COVID-19 restrictions is biting back. This comes just hours after the city boarded up the building and arrested the owner's son. NBC4's Ted Chen shows us why the owner still isn't backing down.
These signs tell you how this restaurant still feels. Peaceful protest site and recall Gavin Newsom. The building is still red tagged, but the man who runs this restaurant once again struck back against the city of Burbank.
A generator and a power drill. That's what Lucas Lepagian brought to Tinhorn Flats this afternoon to undo what had been done. Our cameras captured the city of Burbank boarding up the restaurant earlier this morning, red tagging the business for alleged fire and safety violations.
My only form of income is through this business, and I have a family to care for, and I will continue to operate now that every other restaurant is allowed to be open.
And just like that, with supporters and onlookers nearby, the man who runs this restaurant was able to go back inside. It's the latest in an ongoing battle with the city. Burbank officials say the restaurant had repeatedly defied health orders to close, staying open even when all in-person dining was banned. But when the city padlocked the doors, Lepagian removed the doors. He wound up being arrested last night for violating a restraining order. He was released a couple hours later.
I believe this whole shutdown was illegal. We are allowed to be open, and they continue to try to make an example out of us, and I will not allow that.
A Facebook post indicated the restaurant would reopen at noon today. That had to be delayed as more boards were removed and ice was brought in. Lepagian promising that he would accept all customers.
We're not anti-mask. If you want to wear a mask, you wear a mask. If you don't want to wear a mask, that's fine. We are pro-freedom here at Tinhorn Flats.
In a statement, the city of Burbank warned anyone re-entering the building could be taken into custody. In Burbank, Ted Chen, NBC4 News.
Some of it really surprised me, and I'll tell you why. Because honestly, I didn't know they're that stupid. Okay, the city. I mean, they were arresting my son. Supposedly, there was he was trespassing. Well, I mean, I don't know if people know this, but they were pulling him over on Magnolia Boulevard, like a traffic stop.
I heard about
asking
that.
him to get out of the car, and they're arresting him. So, I mean, these are all like wrongful arrests. Okay. I mean, and all this stuff is stacking up against them. I mean, I can't talk much about it, but I mean, we're already in discovery with Garagos. And I'm just going to say this. They look dumber by the second.
I mean, at that point, as a police officer, you go, well, no, I'm not doing this job. But we didn't see that, unfortunately. We didn't see anyone with balls, man. We needed people with kahunas to say, you know what, this is an unlawful order. You know, much like in the military, you can say no to an order that's illegal. It's obviously it's tough and nobody wants to do it, but you can and you should. And which is what, to my mind, that's what the Burbank cops should have done. Is just one by one made a little pact. No, we're not arresting this guy. He's a kid and he's just trying to make money.
A symbol of freedom and fighting government tyranny. You know, resisting illegal mandates. You know, they were the ones. I actually met Jay Leno too. I met Jay Leno down the street, and I asked because he was going into the auto bookshop, and I saw Jay Leno. I went up to him, and I'm like, "Hey, Jay Leno, what do you think of Tinhorn Flats? Them defying the orders and all that." He was like, "Well, they should have listened to the mandates. They should have followed the mandates." I'm like, "Really? Is that what you think?" And I got in this long debate with him about the mandates and lockdowns and Anthony Fauci. We were talking about Anthony Fauci. But anyways, but it was funny because I usually have these flyers with me. That one day, I didn't have any flyers. I wanted to give it to him. So I'm like, oh shit, but I wanted to just make sure I didn't have any. So I ran to the corner because I left my bag there. Because I ran to, Jay Leno when I saw him. So I left my bag there. He's like, hey, why are you running away? Why are you running away? We're having a conversation. It was pretty funny.
In April, I got a call from Shiva inviting me to a Patriot birthday party at Tinhorn. I arrived to find out that Burbank had made all the moves at once. Power shut off, doors boarded up, sandbags in front of the doors, and some heavy-duty padlocks. The city had successfully shut it down, and we had an emergency protest right then and there.
Hi, I'm Dennis Napolitano, and I launched the Tinhorn Flats protest.
This is a protest to help people in small businesses against this tyranny, against this unconstitutional lockdown and persecution.
Crazy enough, it was about to get worse.
For words, because I want to let you guys know that tyranny is happening at the highest level right now here in Burbank, in front of Tinhorn Flats, because what I'm witnessing right now is, I'm a loss for words, but I'm going to show you. What you're seeing are holes drilled for posts along the entire perimeter of Tinhorn Flats and measurements made to erect a fence around the building. I don't know if they have a court order for this, but this is just unbelievable and just I have no words. This is tyranny at its highest level. If you look, you can see the posts. They've already been cut and drilled. The markings have already been made as far as the measurements go. We're protecting a small business here that is being harassed and persecuted completely. This is tyranny. This is unbelievable.
So that night, we actually got a bunch of us together and they cut the holes for the fencing. We actually put together a cement mixture and we filled all the holes all around the perimeter of the place.
But the city came back the next day with a SWAT team, drilled the holes again, and erected an illegal chain link fence around the entire property. This was an outrageous abuse of power, and the Tinhorn Flats Freedom Rallies had begun.
I had a Zoom conference very similar to this one with the city of Burbank. You know, it was their lawyers, it was my attorney and my Garagos and his assistants, and there was the mayor and there was a few councilmen there, and the mayor looked me right in the eye through Zoom and said, "Look, I really want to work this out." His exact quote was, "I want to come in there and I want to eat the wings again, and I want to put this behind us." You know, right? I mean, I was just marching forward at the enemy until he said that. That's sort of actually like, wow, really? Like, you know, that's a little bit of a compromising kind of tone there, which was the first time I had ever heard that. These pansies, man, they sat there and told me how, you know, we're going to work this out and everything, fully knowing that they're going to put up a 10-foot gate around the perimeter of my entire restaurant.
We'd be there every Saturday for about the next 2 months, all the while being targeted for doxing by a leftist Instagram account called Burbank Bigots.
We also had notoriety from Dennis Prager coming down and speaking at it. We had the Right Side Broadcasting come down. We had the news, you know, spiraling over us, you know, newscopters and NBC and KTLA and CBS, and so we got national and international notoriety for this little restaurant right here called Tinhorn Flats.
The mini Beverly Hills rally, again, we had purpose and intention. It gave, you know, like you said, as things died down, it gave us a new place and a new purpose to gather, a new place to gather, a new purpose to gather behind. It came our new, that's where we all could, you know, hang out and be with each other. We had vendors, we had food, we had our bullhorns.
Since he couldn't run the restaurant anymore, Lucas LePagean rented a food truck and served Tinhorn food out of it for the rallies for 1 whole week, until Burbank took that away from him. Memorial Day weekend was when the Tinhorn rallies hit a boiling point. Patriots decided that if Burbank wasn't going to remove the fence, then they would do it themselves.
All of a sudden the cops were there 24 hours a day going, well, we've got to make sure that these kids don't get into the Tinhorn. Anyway, so we'd set up a little diversion with flags and signs and stuff. Behind the signs was Eric and me, and anyways, he was taking it apart bit by bit, like fucking Lego, man. Bit by bit, this big chain link fence around a bar that's still surreal to me. And someone said, oh, the door's open. So Steve Hood, the blind dude with his beautiful Labrador, ironic enough, he's the one who opened the door.
And he just basically put his hand on the gate and opened it up. So it was a setup for us to get, you know, caught up into that. Well, what happens? All the Patriots start to line up into the gate, and they start taking the sandbags and they start cutting them up and spilling them all out on the street. And the cops can't see any of this yet because we're still all blocking the entrance.
So what to do? So now we get behind the chain link fence. We were in, and the cops just couldn't believe it. They're like, they showed up. Well, what are you going? You got to get back out of there! Get out of there! And dude, we're only in the fence, like from the fence, chain link fence, to the front door of the building of the bar. We weren't doing anything. Get out! Get out! And I was there. I remember distinctly. I was there with a few people, and it was just a case of, no, I'm not moving. I'm not moving. This is a moment in history. I'm not. Why am I going to move? I'm not doing anything, and you can't chain link a fence, a bar up, a business, small business.
And they got all these officers lined up. They were putting on their battle helmets and getting shields and putting on their gloves. And they were getting ready to hit us with billy clubs. And man, they were all ramped up. And Roger Ramjet, we're going to go beat up some protesters.
But anyways, three of us, one by one, we got hauled away, arrested.
They decided to arrest us peacefully. And they dragged us away. And they took us to jail.
But it came down to the point where 3 of our Patriot friends wanted to make a stand. But the 3 of those guys decided saying, you know what? I'm going to jail. Because this is illegal, and we are going to make a point here right now. We've been at this for this long, and now we have the opportunity to really make a stand here. And they did. They went in there, and they asked me. They said, you know, since I was the organizer of this whole thing, they asked me, "What do you think, Dennis? Should we do it?" I said, "Go for it."
But anyways, 3 of us, one by one, we got hauled away, arrested.
Anyway, so while we were in there, they called each of us into an interview room to be interviewed by the detective. So when I got in that room, there's 2 guys in there, and the very first question they asked me was, "Are you a Trump supporter?"
And all they could question us on was about Trump, like, oh, you know, are you affiliated with Trump? You know, are you voting for Trump? And we were just looking, what's this got no relevance at all?
You know, it occurred to me right then that the whole thing was political. Had nothing to do with the law. Had nothing to do with right and wrong. Had nothing to do with anybody's health. This was a purely political witch hunt.
Over the next few weeks, the Tinhorn rallies died down. By the end of June, Tinhorn politely requested that we step down and let them handle Burbank in court.
But what these guys have done is absolutely inexcusable, and I'm going to take it, like I've said before on Instagram, I'll go down with the ship. I mean, even if I have nothing left, I'm going to take this to the 24th hour. That's where I'm at.
I don't know if it happened much in 22, but what happened at Tinhorn Flats not only was a travesty, but how do you explain it to people? You just, even if you use the most simplest phraseology, most clearest, simplest phraseology, you just couldn't really explain what we experienced. It was just craziness after craziness. You're talking, I mean, where do you begin? It was madness. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of sad in a way being back here because, you know, the inside is all just they've trashed it, and out the back it's all the tables are kind of, you know, they've broken up the wood and stuff. And we used to kick it here during the scamdemic 2020 when we first heard that it was open, and they were defying the crackdown orders to stay at home. You can't go out. We were all about it. We'd go out the back. I remember it was my first dealings with Tracy and Tosh. It was a lot of fun, man. We'd just walk right in, but it was, we knew what it represented. It represented freedom. It was a damn good feeling, wasn't it?
Yeah.
The Tinhorn rallies were over, but in LA in 2021, there was always another situation on the horizon. On June 24th, 2021, a video went viral on Instagram of a woman named Cubana Angel confronting the staff of WiSpa in Koreatown about a man exposing himself in the women's changing room in front of 4 women and an underage girl.
Like I asked, it's so he could stay there. He could stay there. What sexual orientation? I see a dick. It lets me know he's a man. He's a man. He is a man. He is not no female.
The man claimed to be trans, and WiSpa defended his right to be in the women's section. Both the right and the left laced up their boots, and the first of two chaotic protests took place on July 3rd.
Several people in black attacked the man as others pulled them off him, demanding that he leave. Down the street, we found another man bleeding. Witnesses say he was hit in the head with a skateboard. LAPD moved in to separate the crowds when this shirtless man also stepped in, holding what appeared to be a chain or beads.
You guys are abominations. What?
Police put the man in handcuffs and escorted him away from the crowd.
You have 10 minutes to disperse.
By 12:30, LAPD declared unlawful assembly and officers in tactical gear ushered the crowd off the street. Demonstrators set a dumpster on fire and screamed in the faces of officers. About 40 minutes later, the chaos appeared over.
So I actually helped organize that protest with my friend and also Sarah Stevens, who was running for governor at the time. So we organized a protest against this person. It was an anti-pedophile protest, but they called it anti-LGBT. And a lot of angry, brainwashed people showed up wearing black, and they attacked anybody who was there to protest against this pedophile.
Either Black Lives Matter on one end, Antifa on the other, and then they brought a trash can pushing a big dumpster and caught it on fire right in front of me.
The events of July 3rd led to a second and even more eventful protest on July 17th.
Yeah, I really didn't want to go. Like, it was like, no, we're going to be outnumbered. There's going to be like thousands of them, or not thousands, but hundreds. This is going to be really bad. We were like, whatever. I guess we got to do it. So it was pretty funny because, we were gathered right outside, like several blocks away from WiSpa, and then one guy, one of the reporters, he comes and he just came from like the WiSpa, like still like looking at what the Antifa, the crowd, the other side was doing, and he looks at us and goes, "Oh, you guys are fucked."
Police say those protesters hurled smoke bombs and projectiles at them right outside the spa on Wilshire Boulevard. These clashes came after two dueling protests, apparently fueled by the spa's policy to accept transgender customers. Another protest was held earlier this month, sparked by a viral video. WiSpa has defended its policy, saying it strives to meet the needs and safety of all of its customers, and they don't tolerate harassment.
One of the only times I really felt scared I had a helmet on because, and actually what happened, thank God I did, because what they were doing was these Antifa guys were throwing water bottles of frozen water being thrown through the air, dude. Luckily no one got hit. That's such an evil thing to do, man. You guys, whoever did that, wow, man, start praying for forgiveness, because you're an evil clown.
We marched around. We got up real close. We're across the block. We're yelling about women's spaces. People are chanting women's rights. Over on the pedophile side, they're chanting about fuck the police, a whole bunch of like demonic stuff that I don't want to repeat. And then they started attacking the police, and then the police responded by pushing the conservative line back. So they're like punishing the conservatives for Antifa acting badly.
Without any break, another evil cause was already rearing its head.
One of the country's strictest COVID-19 vaccine mandates is now in effect in the city of Los Angeles.
Now, anyone 12 and older will be required to show proof that they're fully vaccinated or a recent negative test to enter many indoor businesses.
Our side turned out in huge numbers at LA City Hall on Saturday, August 14th.
And Antifa was there. They were first across the street, just like watching, because it was a permanent event. So they knew if they showed up, they would just start getting arrested right away. But then out of nowhere, they just started charging at the event. And then there was already patriots lined up ready to defend this event. So it was just like a big clash of people. I was actually in that clash. And I don't want to talk about too much of that because I was a part of the clash. But people just started, it was Antifa mostly that was instigating a lot of things. people were there. They were fed up with what happened before. There was already things happening before, so they were prepared to fight back. And so yeah, it was a big clash that happened. Some people got hurt, some people got arrested, I heard, and a guy got stabbed.
Differences over mandatory COVID vaccines turned violent and spilled into the street Saturday. Watch dozens of protesters and counter-protesters fighting during a demonstration outside City Hall.
But somebody decided to commit a crime by stabbing someone.
LAPD says that man is now in serious condition and that the violence reveals how polarizing the topic of mandatory vaccinations has become.
It is a hill that some people are prepared to die on because it is, what else do you have if you don't have bodily autonomy? It's basically considered medical rape at this point.
Carmen Estelle's one of hundreds of protesters who stood outside City Hall demanding medical freedom. More organizations and businesses in LA are now issuing vaccine requirements, and Carmen says it's wrong.
They want to force vaccines, and we believe that everybody should have a choice on what you put in your body. My body, my choice.
Right. We're not here to fight them. No. We're here to fight them.
And we had a tragedy that day when one of our boys got stabbed right under the heart. And praise the Lord, though, he just had a baby with, him and his girlfriend just had a baby girl, healthy. So, the Lord really saved his life that day, really spared his life for a greater purpose. Now he's a daddy.
The vax mandates did successfully make their way into restaurants for entry, and patriots turned out for several evenings at the upscale West Hollywood restaurant Harlow, whose owner owns several other restaurants that were also enforcing the vax. Vax mandates did make their way into local government jobs, including schools. Many teachers who refused the jab lost their jobs. In this wake, a lawsuit got underway leading to the formation of the group California Educators for Medical Freedom. Another such group that came out of this period was a group of entertainment industry professionals who found their work drying up after refusing to get the shot. Tatum Shank, his wife Jennifer, as well as Siaka Massaquoi and others, formed the group known as Hollywood for Freedom.
We're just encouraging artists to live by their values, and that there is a new Hollywood being created right now. That in the past, they had to comply because there was nothing else. There was no other option. But now there are options that are birthing, and there is a new Hollywood that is birthing. And so we're encouraging artists to push in that direction, to look for opportunities in the new Hollywood with production companies and studios that are producing content that is in line with their values. So that's our message right now.
The movement was taking all these new shapes, and we were all excited, because September was coming up. The September we'd been waiting anxiously for. We were going to recall Gavin Newsom. The recall effort had been a hard-fought and enthusiastic campaign for 2 years. The Beverly Hills rallies had been a huge help in being able to get signatures. We had all been ecstatic just when we got the amount of signatures needed to get the recall on the ballot. Now it was here. We were so excited. And then...
And thank you for rejecting this recall.
Overnight, Governor Gavin Newsom declaring victory, with California voters rejecting a months-long effort to remove him from office.
Yeah, no, I mean, with Newsom, that was probably the third recall, because the first one, nobody knew about it. There was no signatures. The second time, I signed it, but I didn't really get involved. And we got about, I think, 500,000 signatures. But the third time, I got heavily involved. I actually made these big signs, recall Newsom signs, and I would actually go out there and help gather signatures. Then we'd go to businesses and gather signatures as well. That one, I really got heavily involved because, we needed, I think, 1.1 million signatures, and I think overall we got 1.2 million signatures. But in the end, same thing. I mean, Newsom only needed 50% plus one vote to be recalled, but he got 60% in his favor. It just didn't. We knew same thing. They cheated.
The recall, they would never have gotten enough signatures for the recall in the first place if it wasn't going to pass by a huge margin, because they were making every possible effort to exclude as many signatures as possible. So Gavin Newsom cheated. I know he cheated, okay? Do I have the definitive proof in front of me right now? No, I don't. But I know they cheated.
These people, these elites, they have an agenda. They install whoever the hell they want to install, and they've been doing this for a long time. So what would it make? What difference would it make for a recall if we can't get the elections correct and elections on a fair basis? How are the recalls going to go? I knew the recalls. I had no faith in recalling Newsom because he's part of the crime syndicate. He's part of the California crime syndicate. The four leaders of the California crime syndicate are Brown, Pelosi, Newsom, and Getty. And they've been running California as a crime syndicate for 88 years. I'm not sure how many years, but to that degree. So they're all sewed up. They know it. They have it all in their pockets.